When you look at the US stock market, it feels like a story about giants, right? A few companies so massive, they pretty much define the entire landscape. But is that the only story happening? Today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We'll see who really holds the power, where the hidden opportunities might be, and what's just around the corner. Let's dive in. So here's the game plan. First, we'll get a handle on the sheer scale of the market's biggest players. Then we'll unpack the dominance of the Magnificent Seven. After that, we'll go looking for opportunities beyond big tech. And to wrap it all up, we'll scout out the big catalysts on the horizon. All right, first up, the titans of the stock market. I mean, it's one thing to say a company is big, but it's a whole other thing to really wrap your head around the mind-boggling scale we're talking about at the very, very top. Just take a look at this number, $3 trillion. That's not the economy of a pretty big country. No, that's the approximate value of one single company, Apple. It's a number so huge, it's almost hard to really process. And Apple isn't throwing this party alone. Microsoft and Alphabet are right there with them in the multi-trillion-dollar club. But here's the really crucial part. These companies aren't just big for the sake of being big. They're foundational. They make up such a massive slice of indexes like the S&P 500 that their ups and downs can literally steer the entire market. And that enormous weight they carry brings us right to our next point, the dominance of the Magnificent Seven. This is really the heart of the tension in the market right now. This risk of having way too much power and way too much value concentrated in just a handful of companies.
And here they are, the crew you've been hearing about everywhere, the Magnificent Seven. Fueled by everything from AI to the cloud, this elite group hasn't just been performing well, they've been dominating the market in just about every financial conversation out there.
Now, their incredible success leads us to this really important concept, market concentration. Basically, it's what happens when a tiny number of companies make up a huge piece of the pie. And this isn't just trivia. It can actually increase the risk for everyone invested in the market. And if you want to see just how extreme this has gotten, just look at the S&P 500. This is an index of 500 companies, right? But just 7 of them, 7, account for almost 40% of its entire value. That means the other 493 companies are all crowded into the rest of the space. It's pretty wild. So why does that matter so much? Well, when the market gets this top-heavy, a stumble from just one or two of these giants can have a huge negative ripple effect across the entire index. Think of it like a Jenga tower, where a few critical blocks at the bottom are holding up most of the weight. You pull the wrong one, and the whole thing gets a lot more wobbly. All of this kind of begs a really important question, doesn't it? Has the market's success become a one-trick pony? Is it all completely riding on the shoulders of these few tech behemoths? So, is it just a one-trick pony? Well, if you look a little closer, the story gets a lot more interesting. It's time to look beyond big tech, because there's a lot of strength building in some other, less obvious corners of the market. There are really two powerful stories playing out at the same time right now. In one corner, you've got that incredible tech and AI momentum, the whole rally built on excitement around companies like NVIDIA. But in the other corner, you have what analysts are calling fundamental strong buys. These are companies like the medical device maker Dexcom or the industrial giant GE, companies that are looking good because their core business is solid, completely separate from all the AI hype. And this isn't just about a few random companies either. We're seeing real fundamental strength across all sorts of different sectors. Life sciences, industrials, financials, aerospace, you name it. The big takeaway here is that the story of a strong economy is way broader than just what's happening in AI. Okay, so we've sized up the giants, and we've looked at the opportunities hiding in plain sight. For our last section, let's turn our attention to the near future and focus on the major events, the catalysts, that could really shape where the market goes next. There are 3 big things to keep on your radar. First, the August jobs report. That's going to be our big health check on the economy. And that data, well, it feeds directly into what the Federal Reserve is thinking about interest rates. And finally, we've got earnings coming up from tech giants like Broadcom, which will tell us if that AI rally still has legs. So this is the really fascinating moment we're in. On one hand, the titans are bigger than ever. On the other, these new pockets of strength are popping up all over the economy. The great question now is, what happens next? Will the market keep following the giants, or is the rest of the economy getting ready to forge its own path? The answer is going to define the next chapter for all of us.